Welcome back. Sao Paulo, we've got 3 presentations coming up from you, which we're very excited about. I would like to introduce a convention that we have, which we're calling The Ding, which is very, maybe perhaps unoriginal as a title, but this is our way of indicating that time is up. So could we have The Ding as a demo, please? Fabulous. So when you hear that, you know that's it, your time is up. So the other thing I'd like to remind people is just that the structure of what we're doing right now is that we're doing 5-minute, what we're calling Quickfire talks. We've got 3 of them coming up from Sao Paulo. Then we're very quickly going to bring Felipe Fonseca on stage, who will then give a 20-minute talk, and we'll have time for questions after all of that. So we need to save our questions for that time. So without any further ado, over to you, Sao Paulo. Let's have your first quickfire. Please introduce yourself before you start speaking. Over to you.
Hello, thank you. Well, my talk is about site specificity and translation in the arts. And the hypothesis is to defend that the expression site-specific is a site-specific in itself, that it depends on the English language and its context to build its meaning. Well, it's used in many different ways in English, not only in the arts, but in many different areas. So it's not a jargon like it's being used in Portuguese. In the arts, it began to be used in the 1960s with minimalism and 1970s. Robert Smithson was an important artist to discuss the issues implied in that concept and expression concerning the attachment of the work to its context and its lack of autonomy in a market that was very hot at the moment. So it had a critical aspect once it resisted mobility. So Robert Smithson talked about a very important change in paradigm of the attitude of the artist, in the approach of the artist, especially in this sentence we can really realize that. I will read it. At that point, I was still not sure what shape my work of art would take. I thought of making an island with the help of boats and barges, but in the end, I would let the site determine what I would build. So this last part that is doubly underlined really shows the difference in the attitude of the artist when he lets the place have an active role and really interfere and be the co-author of the work. So that really characterizes the site-specific approach or methodology. Now, in Brazil in the 1970s, something similar was happening, what we could call a contextual awareness, but it remained unnominated. It didn't gain a name like a site-specific practice in English, but it also had that pulse, that awareness in the works of Arthur Barrio, for example. During dictatorship, it was a completely different scenario. Cildo Meirelles, again, Cildo Meirelles talking about awareness and conscious. Cildo Meirelles. So what's been happening in Brazil is that we use the word site-specific untranslated and to refer to works that have this contextual awareness. When we use that word, we are erasing our own history in a sense, or specificities of our own history, and referring to minimalism, American minimalism. In that sense, what I defend is a critical reading of this term and translation as a critical reading based on 3 terms. which will be the idea of exteriority, thickness of space, and situ. That would generate the word espessitude, which does not exist in Portuguese because there is no equivalence between English and Portuguese, so it's impossible to translate the word site-specific literally, and we would have to create a new term to refer to this contextual awareness in this kind of context and scene of translations, creating as a new word as a possible critical attitude and intervention in space and art practices. So that's it.
Let's just have a ceremonial ding. Can we have a ceremonial ding? Thank you.
That was a site-specific thing.
That was a site-specific ding, yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right. Next up, are you ready?
Okay. Yep. Okay, I'm going to talk about rethinking the public sphere. And why public sphere? Because I think that with GPS devices and all this technology, we have to think about what is symbolic, imaginary, and the real. Because I think that's still necessary to think about this concept. And I'm gonna just give you a short definition of what I'm talking about when I talk about the public sphere that I took from Alexander Klug's definition and Oscar Nett, the German movie maker. The public sphere encompasses a variety of meanings and it implies a spatial concept, the social sites or arenas where meanings are articulated, distributed, and negotiated, as well as the collective body constituted by the public itself. So, from this point, I'm going to start to talk about geographic devices, GPS, location, and space. I think that also capitalism is taking care of what we used to call real through augmented reality and located-based technologies, and it is trying to replace the symbolic production with the power of the imaginary. So this, why I'm saying this, because usually what we are seeing now with the devices like iPhones or software that can recognize places, and one of the most sophisticated software that we can see on the market is the Google Goggles, which recognizes places. If I point to the map, it recognizes by the place by the architecture, not by GPS location only, and this is really sophisticated. That's why. And this is changing a lot, the way that the imaginary is being configured. And of course that companies are buying places in this imaginary. So this is also a dangerous thing and have to think about what's going on, but I'm gonna try to show you also something not so pessimistic, okay? This way it is necessary to think in terms of what is the real, of course, nowadays, and what is the imaginary to create new symbolic comprehensions of what is going on in the global and contemporary societies. I'm going to show you two examples that I think that they are important in this context. One is the project Walking Tools and the Hyper GPS device Walking Tools. As it is described here, it's a suite of softwares or code that I developed with my friend Brett Staubman from University of California, San Diego. It's a free software system to develop a based location art. Basically, you can use, download, it's in SourceForge. And this system, why we did it? We did it because we were afraid of what was happening in this GPS location thing, or the company is taking care of everything. So we decided to do something like you can create your own locative basic media-aware or locative based art. So it's pretty easy, just download and then you're going to start to produce your own GPS software. So, but something happened that, and this is the interface of the software when you download. I can talk about this later, we don't have time. So what happened then with this software? Two professors, one is my colleague, Brett Staubom, and Ricardo Dominguez, they created a special software that discussed exactly this issue related to public spaces or something like this. They created a software that helped illegal immigrants across the border between United States and Mexico. How? Because the software shows where you can find water, and then you don't die in the desert. So people are crossing the border. Nowadays, both professors are being, my friend also, and maybe you can find a job for him in Brazil because he's being sued by the federal FBI, everything. Yeah, it's true. They are suspended from the university right now. So, continuing this, this is what happened in March 10. Fox News started the big blast against them, okay? Another thing that I think that we have to talk about and think and what's going on are the mobile web servers. I think also I'm gonna use this as an example because I think that's gonna change a lot the way that we have to realize public spaces, because I saw that people are talking about spaces, but we have to talk about sphere, public sphere also, because it's a representation, it's symbolic, and the symbolic is changing. This software allows you to create or host mobile servers or your server, your website in your cell phone. So this changed completely the way that we think about borders, for example. If I can carry my website in my phone, so what's going to happen in the future? So when I can, for example, go to China and protest and have my, as I put in this image, my website being carried in my pocket. So I can tweet from my cell phone, I can host, I can run away from people, and this is going to change. And it's also going to create a lot of new issues related to how to control information, how to control IP devices, and something like this. And I think that's okay.
Back to you, Majesty.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I think I've been a little negligent in my hosting duties by not telling you who the speakers are, although I was kind of hoping maybe that they would also say who they are. But I'll try to say it, although it may start an international diplomatic incident with my bad pronunciation. Our first speaker, correct me if I'm wrong, that was Jorge Barretto, and the one we just heard, Cicero Silva. And now we're going to hear Gisele Beiguelman. Is that correct? Sao Paulo. Oh. Okay, I guess I was right. Okay, fine. So Sao Paulo, are you ready to start with the final presentation by Gisele?
So good morning, good afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon. And so my presentation here will discuss some recent productions of Brazilian artists that my argument is that they reveal an emerging technophagic tendency, which is profoundly marked by procedures of resignification of everyday life and micropolitical strategies. I think those artistic practices have established a particular insertion of Brazil on the field of technological aesthetics, especially on the modalities related to networked environments and creative uses of open source software. I define this technophagic approach as a combination of tradition and innovation. I'm just showing some works with, in some ways, discusses this. An hybridism of old and new technologies, a very interesting way of combining high and low technologies, and also like in, we go one more, There is, and also the way they are reframing or they are pointing to a reframing of everyday signs, and also putting in, okay, I would like to show more detail in this piece that it's by Fernando Rabelo and probably is not very clear by the picture, but I think that it's a statement about this discussion about the technophagic approach. This is a collective VJ machine where the keyboard is substituted by those small devices, and they are made with iron sponges. And this is a very important device in Brazilian culture. This is bombril, that is very difficult and has 1001 utilities. And in this case, it is the 1002nd one utility, since it's the first time that it's used in such a creative way and in so efficiently as it is. Also, it is pointing to new ways of recreating devices for other creative works, like it's clear in Jarbas Giacomi that it's a very young artist, keep this name in mind. And also in Felipe Fonseca, that will later present by himself his work and the way they are working in new forms of distributing technologies for new kinds or new approaches of creative work. I will finish my presentation with Mobile Crash by Lucas Bombazzi. I hope that you can copy the URL of the videos because the image is not powerful. And I think that it's the last one that I will show here, especially because it brings an interesting discussion on planet obsolescence. And it is a very important discussion today, especially in countries like Brazil, India, and China, that just skip it, they jump it into the global and information society, skipping the landline movement. And in this installation, it's an interactive piece where the audience is invited to destroy virtually a series of old cell phones. As more you move, more quickly and noisy the videos respond to your presence. It's a very cathartic interaction, and in some ways I think that it's what we can state about in which ways technophagic approaches are pointing to new forms of not just to new media aesthetics, but also to new approaches to technology, open source, and society. And thank you very, very much.